Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 249 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association believes the arts should be accessible to everyone, and so do we. So you should check them out. Go to www.fdfineartsassociation.org to find out more. Check out their community calendar, and be sure to check out their podcast, FDT. That's spelled FDTEA. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can go to the Audible Farm YouTube channel and find a little playlist of it right there. This episode, I'm sitting down with Jacob Williamson. Jacob's been a good buddy of mine ever since I started playing music with him, and I don't get to play as much music with him now as I used to, but maybe that'll all change in the future. You never know. It's fun to sit down and talk with Jacob. I feel like he's one of those guys I could have like multiple conversations almost at the same time with, talking about just all sorts of different stuff. We go off on a lot of tangents on this one, but we kind of talk about how he's changed things up a little bit since the last time he was on the podcast and why he's done that, and this is a great episode. It's great. I always feel like I walk away from these episodes kind of learning something, regardless of what it is, just got to do what you love. So this is episode number 249 with Jacob Williamson.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Sitting down today with Jacob Williamson. Jacob, you've been on the podcast before, and let me pull this up here because I have the stats this week, everybody. Let me see. That was the stats. Episode 195. That was July 7th, 2022.
It's a couple years.
Yeah, it's only like 50 episodes back, which you think like, okay, that's about a year. But no, that was like 3 years ago. That's pretty wild. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, honestly. But at the same time, it kind of does. So, if you want to listen to more about Jacob, he's in that episode. Go check that one out. Otherwise, what's happened since then? Like around that time, you were just starting to play music with Jesse Wilson, kind of playing live a little bit, that kind of stuff. You had just sort of returned to Fort Dodge and were just kind of like finding your footing as far as playing music again and things like that. But what all has changed since then? I know you've played some big shows with Jesse, but yeah, like what are you doing right now? Let me ask you that.
I am playing with Renegade Soul
and
at the moment.
Playing bass?
Yes.
Awesome.
Trying to prepare to do some solo acoustic stuff again.
Okay.
Haven't done it in probably 9-10 years, so just trying to get back in the swing of that.
Yeah, that was something we had talked about. I don't, not even on the podcast. I don't think it was just something you and I had that was one of my favorite things about going to shows with Jesse. You and I would just like sit out, we're kind of the same person a little bit. So like when we're off stage, we just kind of go stand on the side and that's it. Like example, Downtown Country Jam, Jesse was selling merch at the tent and we like all walked over to the tent and people would walk up and recognize him and Cole and then didn't recognize you and me. They were like, you two are in the band.
Yeah, that's pretty. I've been ID'd going back into gigs pretty regularly with him.
That's hilarious. But yeah, we would always kick around ideas, and you were always like, yeah, I should go out and play an acoustic, show somewhere just to do it again and kind of get in the swing of things. So what are you doing to like motivate yourself to kind of do those things?
Honestly, just playing with Renegade Soul is pushing me a little more towards it.
Okay. So, is that like the song choices or like the venue places that you're going, or like what exactly about it? Is it just like going out and playing music again live? It's kind of reinvigorated you or what?
Well, so I memorize music that I'm playing based on the lyrics. So I have all the lyrics and all the chord progressions to these songs memorized. I just don't do anything with them outside of playing each band I'm in.
Yeah.
And, playing with Jesse for 2 years, I've learned a lot of music.
That's true. I am not a lyric guy, so it's kudos to you for being a lyric guy. So you can like memorize lyrics, all the lyrics to all the songs. You can like call them back.
Well, not all of them, just little bits and pieces. And out. If I don't know a song super comfortably, chord progression wise, I'll listen to what the melody's doing, and generally where that's going will tell me what is happening.
Yeah, it's kind of like the drum fill before a certain part, is like, oh, the chorus is coming up here or whatever, so but it's like the singing version of that, this is the words that the person does before the bridge or something, or
especially with country music, like it's got a very strict formula, so it's pretty easy to figure out where things are going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was something somebody asked me, and I'm not even, if you guys don't know and you don't want to listen to the other episode, Jacob, you went to music school at Atlanta Institute of Music. So you know music, you are trained in music, but like I'm not trained in music. This is just like a fun hobby that I do that I wanted to see if I could figure it out. And people are like, how do you know what's coming next? And it's like, there's only so much that can come next usually. I mean, I get it. There's rules and you don't have to follow them all the time. And it's kind of like nobody does sometimes and it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But there's, what notes aren't coming next, kind of, you know? And that's like a hard idea to convey to people that don't play music. But it's kind of like, I Victor Wooten, I'm sure you saw this, with like a TED Talk where he talked about like how playing bass was like talking. Yeah. And so like at first you're like goo goo gaga and you can barely do stuff. And then you're putting together basic sentences and before you know it, you can converse with it. That's the same thing I try to like explain to people because it's like, what words wouldn't fit together in English so well that we almost can't speak broken English, Right. So it's like you almost can't play bad bass. It's like an actor trying to act poorly, it's like.
But I feel the same way about other instruments too. Like I feel like having that mindset makes it a lot easier to learn other instruments because you just know what it should sound like. You might not know everything exactly as is, but you know the general direction of where it needs to go. And I feel like that makes memorization a lot easier.
Yeah, the general direction for sure. And I mean, it's funny because like the most classic songs that everybody loves and you don't have to know anything about music, it's just like this song is so basic and it's generally speaking it's so basic. Sweet Home Alabama, 3 chords, like there's a couple spots where it's not, but other than that the whole thing is 3 chords, right, over and over and over. But it's like that's the kind of stuff where it's like where it's going, where it probably should go because these chords always fit together well because Marshall Tucker Band used it too, and so like you just go up and down the line. There's a lot of people that use those 3 chords to a lot of success, but
it's also a slippery slope because if you start thinking about it too academically versus musically or constructing a sentence, you kind of box yourself into one thing. And the last time I was on here, I was still very much in that academic mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm more recently, like you said, getting into it more as a hobby again and just enjoying it rather than thinking of it like paperwork.
Mm-hmm. So that actually brings me, my favorite thing about talking to you is there's going to be a lot of stuff, like I wrote down general notes, but like let's kind of go into this. We were talking once about how like I play music very well live. I am an attitude kind of player. I like vibe off of people and I kind of have a little bit of showmanship in me. So it's like just enough to keep everybody entertained. And you were saying like you're more of like a studio player. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to kind of figure it out because I didn't spend a whole lot of time in a studio, but it's such a different muscle, and that comes from that academic mindset of like it has to be perfect, it has to be this, and it can only be this, and there's no extra noises that are going to be allowed. Yep. Which like in the studio is something I don't ever think about, but all that extra nonsense that gets lost in a full band setting live, it's very obvious and clear in the studio. Yeah. So that's something I think like the differences, and it was one of those things, the more you started playing with Jesse, the more you kind of started, I don't want to say like loosening up, but flexing the muscle of playing live in that setting. So that was something I got to like, I don't want to say watch you grow, but like watch you flex that muscle, which was something that you hadn't done in a long time because of all your training that you had. Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it because if you want to talk about like formulating a sentence, maybe it would be the equivalent of like speaking very, very proper English as opposed to being able to converse with somebody normally.
It's like texting and using apostrophes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do. I do. But it is what it is. I don't know. I'm so literal when I read text that if like words are jumbled up or they're misspelled, I have a harder time figuring out what it is than I probably should. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. Like I'm just getting out of touch. But yeah, so that's kind of cool to know that this has like been the progression is now you're like to the point where like I want to go up there alone and play and sing acoustic, So are you going to go the country route?
Yeah, just that and like 90s stuff just because it's popular around here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I mean that seems to be most of the bands in this area are either country or like 80s and 70s like kind of classic rock, maybe, you know, something like that, or southern rock, you know. And like you said, there's a little bit of like the 90s getting thrown in there as well, which, I mean, those are just the dominant people in the economic landscape of it all. Those are the people that are at wineries and bars, and that's the age group that's out there.
Well, it's fun music. I mean, I've learned all the technical death metal and progressive rock and all that stuff, and that's fun if you are at home or if you are playing with a well-known act. Playing that stuff live, though, when there's no energy, you know, I love using a click track, but if you're stuck to a click track, it kind of ruins it.
It's tough to break free of it. If you don't know, he's not kidding. He plays a lot of very good technical music. He can. But I played to a click track with a band, and that was how our rehearsals were done. Everything was to a click, and et cetera, et cetera. But live, we did not use a click, which was weird at times, because it's just like there's ebbs and flows when you play live if you're not married to a click. And usually those people have an in-ear monitors with just going click, 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 you know, over and over and over, or ding, 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 or whatever the sound is they want to make it do. And that's not an easy thing to play along with that in and of itself. Again, that's a different muscle to flex, and it's not an easy one to flex because it's rigid and it's non-forgiving, and which has its benefits. If you want to practice in your basement alone, you know it's always going to be there, and you know what note's going to be exactly where they're going to be every single time. But if you play live, sometimes, you know, the cymbal crash happens a little later than normal because that's where the feel is, you know, or something. So that's where, if you're playing live, there's no room for error there. There's no room for feeling. There's no room for getting outside of that. I don't feel like that always lends itself the best to like true emotion. But at the same time, I'm sure you'll say this, there were times with that band where we'd play live, and it's like, even though some of this is complex, I can still like walk around on stage because I know what's coming when. Yeah. And you can still do the whole like put my foot up on the monitor and point the guitar and that whole nonsense, you know. So you could still do all that stuff. And it was not very difficult. Whereas if you're playing like live and with feel, where songs have ebbs and flows of like, well, let's put a solo in here or not, or maybe sometimes you can't really, I don't know, it's not as comfortable to like walk around stage and goof around because you don't know exactly what's coming next.
Well, and you have to be paying more attention.
Oh,
you know,
true.
I can say that is one thing, because I've been in bands where we've used click tracks live. I've been in quite a few of them, and it's still fun, but what I have learned is if you have it set to tell you what the cues are going to be, and a vocalist doesn't remember the lyrics or they come in at the wrong part, it kind of screws everything up, because then you're just letting the singer look a certain way. Rather than the whole band catching that, which, you know, was what a lot of my training was as a bass player, you're following other people.
That's true. I never thought about it like that. That harkens back to like a few episodes back. I talked to Spencer Sukon, and you might even know this. You played Should Have Been a Cowboy with Renegade Soul. Is that Two Country?
I've played it with Jesse, and I've played it with Renegade Soul.
It's different. A little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
There's one part in there where it's like Jesse plays it slightly different than the recording, and I actually like it because there's a part in there where the crowd will sing what's supposed to be sung on the record before we do, and then when we sing it, it's like we're echoing the crowd, and it sounds really, really cool. But when we play that live with people, they don't know that's how we play it. So like Spencer we brought him up to sing the song as we played around him, and he didn't know that's how we usually do it. And the whole band adjusted on the fly and did what we were supposed to make it sound good, because that's how the singer was singing it. And if you had the rigidity of a click track or like, you know, certain triggers happening at certain areas, that's like, you don't have to worry about that in this sense.
I think that's what makes a specific group of musicians good, though. Not the individuality, but that if something happens, everybody is kind of on the same page of where they need to be.
Yeah.
And it could just be, you know, people have played together for a long time. I've heard that Rush doesn't use click tracks live.
That'd
I don't know if that's true. I know Dream Theater doesn't.
Nice.
You know, so if something happens, the whole band just kind of knows how to catch it.
Okay. I couldn't imagine if something happens, it's pretty easy to fix 4/4.
Yeah.
But like 12/9 time, it might be a little weird, something, you know. Like,
yeah. This
is in 13/7. Like, what? Who does that?
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that's pretty wild to think that like Dream Theater does not use a click track, but at the same time, it seems obvious that they wouldn't.
A lot of it comes back to the drummer too. Like the reason they don't is their drummer.
Okay,
He
yeah.
doesn't want to, because it does take away from some of the live. You do want some of the push and pull when you're playing. And if you're playing to a click track, which, if you're playing high profile gigs, that makes sense. But it does take away from it.
Yes. I mean, I can understand that 100%, but I feel like there's also the argument drummers have where some are just like, I'm never using triggers, or I'm never using these and those. And it's like, it might benefit you. There's different types and styles of them, and I think a lot of people misconstrue that. But there's also the whole thing, like, most of the stuff behind the drum kit is just mystical to most people that aren't behind the drum kit. They don't actually know what the heck's going on.
A lot of
there.
people think the triggers are just for double kick and to play double kick really fast.
I think that's what the problem is people are misconstruing the two different types of triggers, where you have the kick pedal where if you pressure it so hard it hammers for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I think they're thinking of as triggers. Or maybe that's where my misconception of what they're saying is.
I don't think that, even then though, I don't think that would be a bad thing, because if it makes it sound better, it makes it sound better.
It could be consistent.
Yeah.
That'd be something like I would probably benefit from, because I don't play drums enough to be good at them and be consistent well enough.
Mm-hmm.
My kick foot is horrible. So so we meandered quite a bit here, but I feel like that's one of the things about playing live, playing with different people, going to some jams, which still isn't quite your jam. You're still not quite a jam guy.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't do it, but I'm going to say this is probably my only reservation with jams is going up there and having absolutely no clue what's going on. And like, by the time the song's over, everybody's finally on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it bothers me to go up there and represent myself like that. And it bothers me to watch that. And jams are kind of a crapshoot sometimes, because you and I aren't singing the song, so we don't get to choose what's happening.
Right.
So we just follow along. And that's the toughest part. Is that like one of the reasons you don't go to jams, is like the no holds barredness of it, or is it just
I'm probably going to get flack for this. I'm really tired of blues music. I'm really tired of blues music.
Boo.
And I'm not. I think bass solos and blues music just don't sound good, and I always am asked to solo.
Oh, yes.
But I don't like being out late either.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know what the deal was. Like, the last couple of years, it's just like 10 o'clock hits, I do the whole thing. Yeah, I'm a pumpkin, like everybody always says, and I'm just out of there. Like, I don't want. If I play late, I can stay up late and play songs late and whatever. But like, I go to jams and stuff, and it's like I'm usually gone before people know it, and sometimes I don't even tell people. I'm just like, this is the time, and it's just out the door I go. And I don't know. Some of it is also like driving late. I'm just like, when you end up putting 200,000-300,000 miles on the same car, and you've only owned it in the time span of when you've played music, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of getting tired of driving. It's not that I hate it, but
well, it's kind of hard to carve out time like that too, when I've got a lot of stuff going on in and outside of music, so
that's true.
I have to kind of plan my days accordingly. And not that I don't like going to the jams, I just have other priorities I have to put first.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, it's one of those things, like, you live in a town that I would say is outside of Fort Dodge. Not unlike me. I live north of Fort Dodge in the bigger city that's north of Fort Dodge. Not bigger than Fort Dodge, but the big-ish one. You know what it is. I live in Humboldt, whatever. But you live farther away from Fort Dodge than I do, which blew my mind.
About 40 minutes.
Yeah. I think it was like 37 from downtown to here if I took a certain route, and I didn't take that route. So it was a little bit longer. But yeah, probably 40 minutes then. So yeah, that's pretty wild to think. I didn't think it was that far away. So like, I can understand your reservation on like a Tuesday or whatever night it happens to be, to like, I got off work, and it's only 12 or 13, 14, 15 minutes longer than my drive. But still, like, if you double that, that's a half an hour. So you got to think like, oh, I got off work and now I got to drive home and do all this stuff, whatever you take care of your dog or whatever, and then drive all the way back and then do the thing and then drive all the way home twice. So you're essentially like doing the drive to work twice.
Yeah.
Or the other thing, and this is the other thing, is you can get up a little extra early, pack all your crap in your car and drive it and have it in your car for work, and then go to the thing. But then you're not coming home to, take care of your dog or whatever the thing is, and I don't know. I could totally see where that would be a thing. Just the time constraint alone. Plus, like, I feel like now there's enough jams, and everybody knows the jam at the Eagles. That's the third Thursday. There's also the first Thursday at Byron's. There's like an occasional, once a month Wednesday jam at VFW in Dakota City. So there's jams everywhere. And sometimes it's tough to pull the trigger on which ones to go to.
But they're all also north.
Yeah.
So, like, the one at the Eagles is the closest one. You look at the VFW, and I'm driving an hour there and an hour back.
Yeah. I mean, that was the other thing that kind of sucked was just like, when you moved down here, I was just like, man, you're farther away from me than you were to begin with. This, like, not that we hung out all the time, but it was just like, this is actually a trek to get down here, Not that it's a big deal, but at the same time, I think that hindered me coming down here more often. Was just like, man, I got to carve out a couple hours. So again, that, like, the time constraint alone, I can totally understand that, especially if you're, rehearsing one night a week, or, whatever, playing a gig a week or whatever it might be, or every other week, that you start to fill up a lot of the time. And I'm sure there's people listening to this that are just like, I eat, sleep, and breathe music. And it's like, I get that, but like,
I did that, man. I've been down that road.
Yeah.
It burns you out.
Well, there's a lot of us on here that, like, you already said it, you have a job and you have a life outside of the job. And then on top of that, you play music. And so I get that, like, you can only have so many hobbies aside from the things you need to take care of in your life, and that's kind of where I feel like I got to, because I used to, like, I was at every jam start to finish all the time, and then eventually it was just like, yeah, I'm just getting tired of driving places. And I got to the point, even when I, like, quit doing the podcast for a while, it's like, just burned out, just like did too much of it all the time, and I needed to take a break, and it's tough, and that's, I mean, I don't want to bring up sour grapes if anybody wants to, but, like, you did end up, like, basically going through the same thing when you quit playing shows with Jesse. Was just like, you were going back to school, you were working all the time, and it just kind of, everything was too much. You didn't have, again, the long drive to the rehearsal and back, and it was just became too much at the time for you. And
but I enjoyed it more when I got to do it. Like, even just sitting up in my office and playing to tracks was much more enjoyable than thinking, oh crap, now I got to drive all the way here. There's an hour of my day gone. I could be doing this, I could be doing that. I don't really I like playing live, but I don't like playing live as much as I used to, because there's so much commitment that has to go along with it.
Yeah.
Like, we were in Okoboji last weekend, and that's 2 days,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got 32 pets, man. Like, I've got stuff I got to get done.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pets.
Yeah.
But I mean, I totally get that. Like, 2 days out of your life, it doesn't seem like that much, and I get it. Yeah, Okoboji party, woo, and stuff. But, like, I don't know. Again, it's not like I'm like a party pooper or I'm old or whatever. But it's just like, did it? I already did that. Like, let's go grab a bite to eat somewhere and, like, hang out at a park or something. I don't know.
Right.
Like, do they have frisbee golf? I don't know.
I just don't want a headache the next morning.
Bingo. Yeah. And I mean, you can only party so hard if you got to wake up the next day and do stuff, especially, like, the next day you have to play again,
Right.
And then the day after that, you have to drive home, so, like, or you can do what I did when I did the overnight in Captain's. I just drove home. Because it's like, I mean, I could stay here, I get it, but it's, for the hour plus drive, it's,
I mean, that's what we did Saturday. Me and the singer packed up and we just drove home because we had Easter the next day, and I just wanted to sleep in my own bed.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally get that. I mean, and there's nothing better than being home, honestly. Like, I get it, like, life on the road, yeah, it's romanticized a lot, whatever, but
I did it, man. I'm well past that.
Done. So, you obviously, like, after not playing with Jesse for a while, you kind of got back into the swing of things again. I feel like that's one of those ebbs and flows of music. There's a lot of people that kind of, I don't want to say like come and go, but it's like, you're playing at your house, you're playing all the time, you're posting videos, playing guitar even, which is not something that people around here, like, I don't want to say like they don't know you play guitar, but it's not something you flaunt or tout or do a whole lot of live.
I hate playing guitar live.
But it's funny because you like the videos, you're just like shredding, and whatever he is, but at the same time, it's like people are like, I didn't know you could play guitar. It's, I knew you could play guitar, but still, it was just like, I didn't know you could play guitar that well. Maybe it just like, when you're like, yeah, I can, and it's like, okay, why don't you play more guitar live?
I just don't think it's comfortable.
Like, to hold the guitar?
I don't like using a pick. Okay. And for some reason, like, Thundercat said it, and then I kind of picked up on it. But if I'm playing live, I grip my instrument really hard.
Okay.
And then my hands lock up, and it's not the same. I can't. I probably could if I, practiced at it more, but I've been playing guitar longer than I've been playing bass.
That's crazy.
And I roomed with, when I was in college, I roomed with 3 or 4 guitar players.
That's crazy too. I mean, this is going to sound weird. Like, what is the payoff of being able to learn a Malmsteen song in a couple days, or like throughout the course of a day off? What's the payoff of that then?
The same reason I learned a Victor Wooten song. It's self gratification.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I don't learn guitar to impress anybody. It's therapeutic to me.
All right.
It's an easy way for me to shut my brain down for a couple hours. And I like the songs. So
why would you do that on a guitar and not bass? Or is it just like, well, I learned the bass part. Like, why not learn the guitar part? Or like,
No, it just depends what I'm feeling like doing. I've posted bass videos and all that, but when it comes to bass, I don't like posting all the really crazy stuff. I have, and it gets me a lot of views, but I prefer playing groove rather than fast on bass. Whereas guitar, I feel like I can cut loose a little bit more.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, you're saying basically like it's just for the self gratification. It made me think like, why would anybody like do a crossword puzzle or like
yeah,
like why not? Why does Sudoku exist? And then I started going like I have these mini epiphanies like that lately. I've been having a lot of them where it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I thought it was going to be this really complex thing and it's not.
Well, it's like why do I keep snakes? They're expensive. I have to feed them. Nobody's given me anything for it. No one, most people don't even like them, but it's all 100% for me.
Yeah, you like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Maybe Joe Dirt. Why is a tree good? Oh my gosh,
I'm selfish like that.
So you ended up starting to play more music, like Renegade Soul. Like, how did you end up getting lined up with them?
I don't really remember. I just remember getting. It was either a text or something on Facebook from Tim Salter. He's like, hey, why don't you come check this out? Or maybe I think I was subbing for Alex.
Oh, yeah.
On a couple gigs because he's super busy.
Yeah. Plays in every band all the time.
And then it just kind of turned into a full-time thing.
Yeah. Was that the intention or?
No.
No?
No.
Was it the fact that, and then this is nothing against Renegade Soul, but like for when you were playing with Jesse, he was in the hit it hard every time, every show, everywhere mode. Like, I mean, to the tune of playing sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a week. Was it the less shows in a week, less frequent shows kind of schedule that?
That's why I agreed to it.
Okay.
It was closer shows, less
chance of burnout,
bigger shows.
Yeah. Oh, I mean that makes sense.
It's a production. It's not we're not just showing up to bars and throwing up a single light, nothing like that. Like it's a full event.
Yeah, Tim goes hog wild.
So does Andy. They're crazy people.
Yeah. I mean, pardon the French, but Tim doesn't half-ass anything. That's for sure. If he's going to do it, he does it well. And I mean, he was one of the guys that said like what was it? Like you hear what you see. Like again, that's why at certain points in time when I play guitar, I will showboat a little bit, because it's like you hear what you see. If the guy on stage looks like he's having fun, it's more fun. If they're just up there like, just straight faced and just not moving, it's like, it's not really as enjoyable, depending on what band it is, I guess. I mean,
well, I tell you what, I would much rather pay to go and see The Darkness than go and see Dream Theater again. The Darkness puts on a hell of a show.
Oh, I bet they're awesome.
Dream Theater just kind of stands there. It's awesome if you're there just to admire the technical proficiency, but I can get on YouTube if I want to do that. True.
Yeah, there's no like energy live, and I don't know. I've seen Dream Theater once. It was years and years ago, and it's not like it was forgettable, but there's nothing I remember pulling from the show where I was like, whoa.
I fell asleep.
They opened up for Iron Maiden, and I went and got a T-shirt during their set.
Well, and it's it's proof that you can still have a show while you do it, because you and I went and saw Polyphia.
Yes.
And they were great showmen.
Yes.
Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing pretty difficult stuff.
Insanely difficult, yeah. I mean, to people that are the laymen, like me, Like, I can see how it's possible, but it's the amount of work it would take me compared to you is crazy. You know,
Well, I've learned some of the tunes on, both guitar and bass, and I can't imagine running around playing that stuff.
Oh, it'd be insane. They also had like a wild light show. Like, I do not understand the forward-facing strobe lights.
Yeah.
Like,
That was a little intense.
it was a bit much, but they had these like retro lights that were doing it, and it was really kind of cool because they were like ludicrously bright, like floodlight bulbs that were kind of doing it. And it was kind of neat looking, but at the same time, like, it was blinding at times too. You know, it was a bit much, but they had, this is where click tracks and things like that would come in handy because their light show fits their weird music perfectly,
Right.
because they programmed it and it's locked into this click through, the clock, and everything's clocked together and synced to be at this time, switch the guitars to this and switch the lights to this and switch the, everything.
Well, a lot of them omit their tones to it also.
Yeah.
So like they'll get to a certain part in the track and it will automatically adjust, so they don't even have to deal with pedal boards.
Nope. They just wireless around stage and enjoy themselves, which, like, dude, the funny thing is, like, the first time I saw a guy off stage running a pedal board for a guy on stage, like, blew my mind, especially when dudes are doing it with like wah pedals and whammies and stuff. It's like the amount of trust you have to have as the guitarist that that's going to be there,
Right.
is insane. Or like the amount of crap that could go wrong just seems like I don't know. And that's where, again, where having like digital stuff might be a little bit better than having the analog version of it, because you could do that stuff. It's a lot of setup, unfortunately, but the fun part about that is you can just like roll a giant rack in there about the size of a chest freezer and then just like pull your wireless units out and plug them in and go.
Yeah.
You pull the lines out the back to the main and away you go.
Well, that's why I don't even have a pedal board that I bring with me, because I just want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten to the point where, like, we do You Oughta Know by Alanis Morissette, and that's a completely different bass tone than, Party Like You.
Okay.
One's more rock, one's very mid-driven, because Flea's the one who played on it.
Okay.
But I don't want to have to deal with EQs and all that. I just adjust my hand to where it needs to be to get said tone. And you have to play a little harder, you have to play a little harder.
Yeah, that's talking like Leland Sklar there. Like, I always feel like it was that I'm thinking of the right guy if I am the bass guy, right?
Big beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was always talk about that. He's just like, I don't use pedals. I don't do buttons and knobs and stuff. I just move my hands around and do what I need to. And I don't know. I always thought that was kind of funny.
Well, even on like my bass cabs behind you, I run flat, everything.
The older, and maybe I'm getting less tone picky, but I've just been like, you pull up an amp, you dial it to flat, and maybe push it one either way, and just run it. Everything sounds pretty good out of the box to me anymore. Maybe it's just because I like the guitar tone I have.
Well, and, as a bass player, if you have a good sound guy, they're gonna make it work one way or another.
True. I feel like a good sound guy is underrated anywhere. They're always undersold. I never get enough appreciation, but at the same time, I don't know. They're like not the ones on stage. I get it, but like, dude, they can make or break a show.
Yeah.
The person running sound, like 100%. Shout out to all the sound guys that don't blow everybody's eardrums off at shows.
Way to go, Mikey.
Oh my gosh, I cannot handle. I get it. I'm in a punk rock band, and that's where I play a lot of shows at. But I cannot handle going into venues and just having my ears drilled off for hours, and it's just like, what do we do?
A lot of the time it don't sound good.
Yeah.
I played in punk band. I've seen hundreds of punk bands.
Yeah.
But, that'll make you walk out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I get it. I'm sorry to all the DIY people. I've had some of you on here, the punk people, whatever, but sound is 1,000% necessary. Like, what else are we doing there?
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Some people do it for the community aspect, and some people just want to play music to party and whatever. I get it. But, like, I don't know. I guess I'm there to, like, listen to music that sounds good,
Right.
Or, like, how would you feel if you went into a bar and they just had it at 10? The jukebox is blasting. It's like, that's
right.
Why would you do that if you're a band? I don't know.
I always wish I could have saw Motorhead, because they're, said to have the loudest show, and I'm very curious to how that would have sounded.
The loudest. What was the loudest show you were ever at? Do you remember, or do you remember a band that was like, this was insane loud? Because I have one. I've always said this. and I'll tell the story on the podcast. I know exactly which one was the loudest for me.
Who was the loudest for you?
Steve Vai.
Okay, he gets a pass though.
It was Steve Vai on the tour where it's Real Illusions Reflections, where he did Building the Church. That was like the big song on the album. That was like, woo, Steve Vai. Yeah, so it was at the Fitzgerald in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I think it's in St. Paul. Either way, Fitzgerald up there, St. Paul. That was where I think Garrison Keillor did Prairie Home Companion and all that other stuff. But there was a sign on the front that said, "Caution, hearing protection is recommended." And then you go inside and there's a guy that's like, "Would you like earplugs?" And it's like, no, I'm 18, 16,
right.
Whatever, something like that. I was a kid, 16, 17. And you go inside and there's like a stand-up sign in the lobby that's just like, "The show tonight's going to be very loud. Wear earplugs." It's like, whatever, Then you're going up the stairs because I'm sitting in the balcony because I was a kid. Do you have earplugs? So there's like it's like a place where they have like butlers and stuff. They're basically like just ushering you around. And it's like, no, I don't have any. I don't need any, whatever. One note in, it was just like, boom, my ears just exploded. It was so loud. Easily the loudest show I'd ever been to. Easily.
I'd have to say Slayer or Lamb of God.
Where were the shows at? Because would that make a difference? I think it would.
I think the Lamb of God show was at the Valor Ballroom.
Valor's been known to get loud.
And I think Slayer might have been there too. It's funny because Lamb of God was not that loud at the Slayer show, but when I saw them headlining their own, it was insanely loud.
It's power.
Behemoth was loud. They were at that Slayer show.
I'm trying to think.
Death Clock's the loudest one I saw. And they're a great example of a click track.
Well, how so?
They have screens behind them. Like they played the show behind them.
Yeah.
And it was them and Children of Bodom.
Sweet.
And my God, it was so loud, but it was such a good show.
I remember it was a Children of Bodom show. It was like the first one where I realized that like there's a place to stand. Like when you go on to like to a show, it's like if you stand all the way on one side, it's gonna sound different than if you stood all the way on the other side. And that was like the first show that like it was so incredibly apparent to me that like if I stood over here, the rhythm guitarist was so loud that I was getting mostly his tone and sound.
Yeah.
If I was like very close up, and I was like, wow, this is kind of weird, And I didn't think it would make that much difference, but that I was young at the time when
I think that age is kind of over though. Like there's still bands that do it, but so many of these bands, especially in that genre, they don't use amps anymore.
It's digital.
It's all digital, and I feel like it makes it a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Because so we saw Devin Townsend right before COVID happened.
Sweet.
And
It was fun.
Them and Haken. It was the best sound I'd ever heard at a venue, ever. And it felt like it was in like a college auditorium.
That's crazy.
Like that's what it looked like. And the sound was just amazing because they didn't have
no noise other than what's coming out of the PA.
Yeah.
Which is a dream to a sound guy, I'm assuming. Because all they're doing is combating the bullshit that's going on stage. So, but yeah, that was one of the first like whatever rig rundown somethings I saw where somebody had midied everything together. It was Devin Townsend. It was those like basically like it's like the size of a mini fridge, and everyone in the band had one, and they roll them onto the stage, and that's all they have.
Yeah.
There's no speakers in it. It's just a rack full of digital stuff and wireless earbuds and backup equipment because there's enough space where you can have a backup, Helix or whatever.
Yeah.
He had a Kemper, but whatever. So yeah, you can also get wild with those if you have two of them going at the same time, which is, you can do a lot with one, and with two, it's pretty limitless. But yeah, he was talking about how like they have all that stuff linked to the lights and linked to the sound, and everything's clicked together so they can just play, and then everything's just go, which it'd be sweet to have that as like a setup. I mean, that's basically kind of generally what you have in Renegade Soul. You have kind of a sort of consolidated setup compared to most people. Nothing against, like, just from my own experience, every other band I've been in has basically you just drag a pile of crap in and start setting it up,
I've got this huge rig behind me, and I at most will bring the 410 cab. I never bring both unless it's a big outdoor show. But I'm going to say all the controversial stuff is I cannot stand tube amps. I would pick
like a tube bass or a tube guitar or any
general,
of it.
I would take a DI Fractal, Line 6, Quad Cortex, whatever, over a tube amp any day.
Why is that?
I have had nothing but problems with it.
Okay, so that's just that
And
thing.
you get close. I mean, tone-wise, no, it's never going to be the same thing. But it is close enough for most people to not know the difference.
Yeah. I was watching a video recently where they're like, the thing is that, this is going to sound weird. So like when you play a guitar and it goes through the amp and it comes out the speaker and you measure the entire frequency response out of there, like if you recreate that in a digital sense, you can actually send that with no degradation or loss straight to the mixer, like the front of house mixer. Whereas if you have a guitar amp, now you have to put a microphone in front of it. So you're going to lose something already. Mm-hmm. And that frequency that you're losing is actually something that is not there when you're listening to the digital version of it, which is the controversy a lot of people have is what you're hearing is more low end and more high end, because there's frequencies that a microphone won't pick up or is not made to pick up,
right,
that it won't pick up as well as if it was digital and it was just sending it straight in. So there are like instances where like having that full response out of digital is better though too. I'm sure again for a sound guy, it's like, what if you're used to having a certain mic that doesn't bleed off certain frequencies and then you use a different one and you're like, well, crap, now I have to like really get creative with what I'm used to doing. Right. As opposed to like, what if somebody just gave you the full signal and you're like, oh, well, I don't need any of these, don't need any of those. Just round it off here, put a hump in it here and done.
And it's just less crap to haul.
Yeah, 100%.
When we did gigs with Jesse, there were days where I didn't even bring an amp.
Yeah.
I would just bring a DI box and run straight in.
Yep. And honestly, doable. Like, it's doable. The only thing you're missing is the stage feel. Because especially if somebody's bringing subs with, it's like, well, guess what? I'm going through the subs.
Well, but they also have stuff to mitigate that. Our Andy's got some, I can't remember what they call it. It's like a butt kicker or something, but I guess it's a plunger that'll hit the bottom of the seat and it's supposed to replicate the bass drum because he's running an electronic kit. They've got boxes. I don't have one because I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. But it's a box you stand on specifically for people who don't bring amps, and you get all of the same vibrations coming through that. It's got a speaker pushed up on the bottom of it. Mm. But it's not, there's no tone. It's just vibrations.
That's wild. So it's basically a thing to make you feel, not like audibly through your ears feel, it's feeling through your body what you're playing.
Which is what you want with, it goes back to the live sound thing. That's why people want to bring amps, because they
and crank it up and be louder. Yeah,
they can feel it. Mm-hmm. This amp never goes above 2.
That might be part of my issue with in-ears. Because I don't know, half the time, dude, I cannot tell you how many places I've been where they're like, turn your amp up. And it's just like, I'm not a loud player. Yeah. But I don't know. I never really had enough luck with in-ears. But then again, at the same time, I've always fought wedges, though, too, where it's just like, yeah, just give me the stage mix. I don't care. Like, something like that's close. Yeah. I'll figure it out.
My issue with the wedges is you get, especially if you have a lot of amps on stage, you get so much bleed. And as a bass player, it doesn't always cut through super well. Mm-hmm. If you're not playing, super bright tones, it's going to be pretty hard to hear it.
The bass? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And as a bass player, that's, fairly important.
Dude, as I've played some bass. Again, I'm just like a basic, I can play bass player. But I've been in those situations where it's like you only notice if what you're doing was wrong. Like, that's the only time you can hear yourself if you're playing bass in certain venues or situations. And same thing with guitar. Like, I've played places where it's like this, I can't hear a single thing I'm doing, and then you honk out a wrong note, and you're like, whoa. Right. It's in there. It's in the mix somewhere. It's just hard to pick it out. And I don't know. So you prefer in-ears over wedges then?
At any day of the week.
I mean, I guess you could dial it in, but like there's still so many times with in-ears where it's like, I'm lost. I can hear everything with nothing at the same time,
What I used to do, and I didn't do it this last weekend, is I used to take one out. Okay. So I would crank it. I have my special ones that I got ordered and all that. And I would put it as tightly in my left ear as I could, because I always stand stage left. And I would take the other one out just so I can get a little bit of the room noise. Mm-hmm. But certain gigs, it just makes more sense to keep them both in. Yeah. If you've got a rowdy crowd that's really loud.
True.
I get distracted very easily.
Yeah, especially places where like the rowdy crowd stage is tight. Like as in the crowd can walk up to the front of the stage and talk to you kind of deal. Sometimes, yes, I can understand why that would be very distracting because I've been to a few venues like that. I'm sure we're both thinking Okoboji, which is kind of like that type of venue. I remember just running up on stage and yelling at you. It's like, I can't hear what you're saying. I'm sorry. Just talk to Jesse. Like, he's running the band, isn't
Right.
it? Like,
We're just the backup people.
I'm just here for fun. So, yeah, we had talked a little bit about that. Jesse to Renegade Soul we keep meandering, which is the beauty of how we have conversations. I've always liked that about hanging out with you. It's just enjoyable.
I don't ever shut up, man.
Well, I mean, I don't either, so it makes for good work. But yeah, I do want to say, like, played with Jesse at Downtown Country Jam. That was fun. You were in the band with me and Jesse and Coal Miner. It was a 4-piece, that show,
Yep.
right? Dang, tight 4-piece. Wow. Now Jesse's a 6-piece. I feel like a lot of pressure's off me now, honestly, to not shoulder the load of the solos, which is kind of fun. But now I'm the director, where like I'm the person that's like, if nobody's taking something, I just take over. But a lot of times it's just a lot of, like you said, these jammy situations, you have to pay attention to the people on stage almost more than the crowd.
Yeah.
Where it's like you give Dave the look, and Dave knows that he's going to be taking the solo. And Dave's one of those people that's like, he's playing and he's looking at his stuff and what he's playing and stuff, and he'll just like turn his eyes up at you because he knows something's coming, and it's like, what's coming? And then you give him the look, and he's like, okay, and down he goes, and he's ready to go. And there's a lot of that goes on now. But did you play, Renegade Soul played Downtown Country Jam. Did they play the same year we played?
They were right after us.
Okay, yeah. So they haven't played again since then. So like I was going to think, like, did you play with them at Downtown Country Jam? But they haven't played again since then.
I think they did a few gigs, but it wasn't with me.
Okay. All right. But yeah, you played Okoboji recently. That was something else I had on here. The only other stuff I got on here is basically like just personal life stuff, and we kind of covered it. Going back to college, you got some pets. You're kind of a snake guy, reptile guy, which is also something that's really fun. Fun snake story. The other day I went to go to the bathroom, and I was looking at the toilet. I was like, this thing looks really weird over here. It looks like the toilet seat's going to fall off. And I look over, and it's like, oh no, that's actually like a tiny tail that's like hanging off the edge of the toilet seat right here. And I pick it up, and there was a snake on the toilet seat. So I whoa, if you come over to my house, look out, I guess, whatever. But like, that was something where I was just like, oh snap, this is hilarious. And so I went to go grab a glove to grab him because I didn't want to get bit or whatever, because I'm not quite as snake guy as you are. But I came back, and he was in the toilet just hanging out. And when I went to reach in to grab him, because I was going to grab him, he just went down the toilet, and away he goes. And
Like down the drain?
yeah, it's a sad deal. He just went in there, and I mean, it just goes straight to a septic tank because I live out in the country in a farmhouse. So
Oof.
sad deal for him. But
Yeah. I'm sure you got quite a few in there, though.
yeah, I mean, that's just farmhouse rules. So, but yeah, that's basically all the stuff I got in here. The other thing was not just a bassist. You play guitar, and we talked a little bit about your guitar videos too. So, upcoming stuff, basically Renegade Soul is the live stuff that you're doing, right?
Yep, we're at El Rey's next month.
Next month at Sweet. El Rey's is fun. Played there a few times. I wish I could get back there again more often. But yeah, that place it's kind of like a Captain's of Iowa City kind of place, you know, just a good time place.
So we're doing that. We're doing Frontier Days.
Sweet.
We're doing Chords in the Corn.
No, oh yeah,
Which is the same night as Trace Adkins.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a little bummed about that. Still might try and get over to that show though.
Yeah, the Chords and the Corn's at the drag strip, right?
Yeah.
There's the drag strip out by Humboldt, which I don't know. A lot of people don't know there's a drag strip out there, but they used to do drag races out there. Still do sometimes. So yeah, that's cool. Lots of shows coming up for you guys. Lots of pretty big ones.
Busy summer.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Again, I mean, that the way you described it's like, yeah, it's basically just like, I don't want to say bigger shows, but you're not playing, this Summers bar. I don't even know if Summers has a bar, but like,
We're not playing bootleggers.
Yeah, nothing against Boot. I haven't played Boot in a while, honestly, which is kind of crazy.
It's just nice to have, I don't want to say a guaranteed turnout, but a more than likely it will be a good turnout.
Oh, yeah, because like you're playing for an event.
Yeah.
And it's not just like you're showing up at a bar on Friday and hopefully people show up kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saving the solo stuff for.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's funny. I've honestly, to myself, this is going to sound wild. Like I work for a marketing company now. I do marketing all day. I kind of want to just start a band and do marketing. And no matter how much I suck, just see how far I can take it. Because I am not a good singer, and but I can play guitar like the Dickens. So
we can do something together.
I figured I could fake something. I used to run around with an auto tuner and sing, and did like what I would call like a 50% soft auto tune that would like slowly bend it to where it needed to go if I was off. And it was pretty fun to do that, but at the same time, I don't know. I can't remember lyrics for crap. I'm so bad with lyrics. I have to have the sheet in front of me with words on it. And
everyone just uses their phone now. Everyone's got the stand on their microphone.
That's true. This was long enough back in the day where like I probably could have done it on a phone, but like I did it with the old school binder and paper route. I couldn't imagine.
I think you sent me the binder.
Yeah,
because I think you had some Kiss tunes in it.
Yeah, there was a pile in there because it was just. Here's all the songs that I've either like learned or wrote down or printed the lyrics and put chords above them. Something's like,
all the ultimate guitar printouts.
Yeah, or like if I wanted to play like an acoustic version of this Iron Maiden song, what are the chords? And then you just give me the lyrics, then you write the chords around them, and there you go. You can kind of do it if you wanted to or whatever.
Just enough to fake it.
Yeah, which what blew me away was like 80s rock. It's just like, what, did everybody write these with an acoustic guitar and just play open chords? Like, because it's like, yeah, this is power chords for the whole song, but it's like the basis of this is just like, just like G, D, E minor, C, the whole song. Like it's like, what did we do? Who thought of this? Why would we do this? But I don't know. I've thought about trying to play shows, but I'm looking forward to you playing. I'd like to see you sing some shows because you did not sing backup in Jesse's band.
And don't Renegade Soul either.
Which is wild. Because you can sing, and I know you can sing. You just don't sing. So, which is also funny because like I know Dave can sing, and I know Taylor can sing because Taylor plays solo shows, and for the longest time didn't have a mic. And it's like, why am I the one doing the backup singing in Jesse's band? Like
harmonies are scary, man. Dude,
harmonies are hard, and I only ever hit them on like 4 or 5 songs. Otherwise, I just mostly duplicate or sing the parts that are like the lead singer can't sing because he's singing something else. Those are the only real things I add to the mix. Singing harmonies is not easy. So I've talked to people that can do it, and they're just like, yeah, you just do it. And I've seen people like build them on pianos, and it seems easy to do, but it's hard to do when you're like, here's the notes. All right, makes sense. That makes a chord. Then you turn to everybody in a circle, and you're like, all right, sing it. It's like, it's not that easy. My vocal cords don't have frets,
Right.
That's what I can't figure out. So
Eli Nets is a monster.
Oh gosh, he can sing so well. There's so many people that can sing so well, and I was just like, man, if I had just a little tiny iota of that, I'd be so happy.
Yeah. But, well, that's my thing. I know all this theory and all this, that, and the other thing, and vocally I just cannot integrate it. I cannot mix the two.
Do you think that's because it doesn't have the shapes on it? Like guitar has frets, and you learn shapes and move around, and then piano has not necessarily shapes, but it's easy to see how the spacing, and it's.
I can't sing very high, and most harmonies are going to be higher, so that definitely doesn't help.
Yeah, for sure. That was the fun part about the when me and Jesse were first started to play. He played a lot more like R&B stuff, and my auto tuner was like a modulator at the same time, so I could modulate to higher pitches, which was like really kind of fun to do with like rap songs and stuff. You could do like the chicks vocals in it, and then like flip it all the way down and do like the low vocals, toss those in there. So I don't know, but anyways, yeah. Is there anything we didn't cover? I think we got about everything we need on here. What do we got here? Yeah, we're almost to an hour. So anything we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
No.
All right. Man of many words. Well, I do appreciate you sitting down talking with me again, man, because, you're one of the people that I feel like the people that are the most talented at doing the things are the basement rockers. And it's like, because, and I think you explained it well, you play guitar mostly for yourself. It's therapeutic for you. I totally get where you're coming from, where like when I'm playing, my brain is shut off. And if someone's like, did you see that fight that happened out in the crowd? I was like, no, I didn't see a damn thing the whole time we were playing. I blacked out, and then Should Have Been a Cowboy was over.
Well, I feel like, too, if you monetize it, you think more about it. You get a little more concerned. Not that I don't play for money, because I do. But, if you're being paid for it, you need to be good.
So what you're coming down to here is like you need to find your why as to why you're doing it. Are you doing it for fun for you, or are you doing it for money? And if you're doing it for money, basically come correct and do it the right way, you know, or just goof around. And if somebody's going to pay you, take the money too, I guess too. Cause like, this isn't easy. There's a lot of endurance that needed to be done in order to be able to play a 3-hour show, you know, 4-hour show. So, a lot of training, a lot of learning things. You went to school for it, for frig's sake, you know, like, you got to pay them bills, you know, or whatever. Right. So, like
I said, nothing against, you know, playing for money. I'm just under the impression that, and I'm trained this way too, play it right. You have time to, you know, goof around, but there is a time and a place to do it. And if you're at an event where people are paying a lot of money, you know,
it makes a lot of sense.
And, you know, nobody's going to know if you're playing it note for note. Like, unless there is somebody in the crowd that is a diehard musician and knows everything about everything, which they don't, no one's going to know if you dick around or not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't just like fumble your way through a song that you come up there. The only way I would say that is acceptable is if somebody requests a song and you're like, we could probably fake it. You know, like that's when it would be acceptable. Right. But you also can't make a whole night out of that either.
Right.
I mean, you could, and maybe the crowd would like it, but it very much depends on the show. But like you said, if you're going to an event where it's like they're paying you big money and there's a built-in crowd here, that's not the time to goof around.
Well, look at when we did the Downtown Country Bash. We didn't make a killing off of it, but there were a lot of people there, and we had an image to uphold.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. We can't just come out there and just be some flight-by-night nonsense.
It would have been nice if we could hear ourselves. But
yeah. There was a lot of bass in the mix.
That's all it was.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun. That was a taste of, like, big show, opening band does not get the preferential treatment kind of deal, which is understandable. It's understandable. You take care of the money, but like
Josh Turner was a very good guy, though. He told us we could wait.
Yes, Josh Turner was the man. Josh Turner also, from what I remember, wasn't feeling good, like was sick or something at that show. Sang better than you could. No, I don't know. Sang better than I can. It was insane. Sounded just like the record, but he was sick, and he still took time to do like his meet and greets that he had like contractually done, you know, or whatever. It was just like, this guy is a machine. I get it that it's his job though too, but like, which that takes all the fun out of it. But at the same time, that's exactly what you were saying. You know, sometimes takes the fun out of it if you're just in it for the money, you know, or whatever. Which he's not. And
that's why I don't do it for a living. I give props to anyone around here who does it, or anybody in general who does it for a living. I will not again.
It's tough. And doing anything for a living is tough. Like the job I work now, I basically parlayed a couple hobbies into like doing what I do at work partially. You know, I do podcasting for the most part as my job, which is crazy. But like, I will agree that it's not it's more rigid, I guess I would say, like that, because I'm doing it for a business and it has to be done for a business and it has to be done right and you have to come correct. We're like, with this one, I kind of just goof around on this one, you know, because it's mine and whatever. But
well, and it's harder to be gone all the time. When I was doing it all the time, I didn't have any obligations to anything. I didn't have dogs. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have any of that. So it was easy. Once COVID hit and I slowed down and I started to incorporate some of those things, it just takes the fun out of it. It's more fun for me as a hobby than as a profession. You know, I would do session work again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because you're not gone all the time. You're home most nights.
Yeah. I mean, I can see you doing that too, for sure. Which, like, session work is like, there was a point in my life where it's like, I could see how this could be possible, but it's the amount of time you'd have to put in to be good enough to basically be like at a studio or on a call sheet where someone's like, come in and record a track. And it's like, okay, and you get paid for doing it because you're just the guy on call. But it's like, it could be a guy that's doing a rap song. It could be country. It could be blues. It could be bluegrass. You don't know what it is, and you're going to have to go in there and slap something on it.
When we were at Muscle Shoals, there were all sorts of different groups there.
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine. I mean, what a fun gig. You never know what you're going to get. Awesome. But at the same time, like, that's the non-appeal of it, too. You never know what you're going to get. Like, that could be frustrating some days, too. Especially if you just can't find the sound you're looking for. I don't know.
Well, there's something magical about recording on the fly, too.
True.
Because with playing live, you do it, it's over. You snap your fingers and your 3 hours is up. When you're recording, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Unless somebody, really screws up and deletes it or something.
True.
But, it's part of history now.
Yeah.
Once you've released that first song or that first single, whatever, it's imprinted.
Mm-hmm. You released some music once. Everybody go try and find it if you can. I dare you.
Oh, I've released a lot of music.
Well, I found one of the songs, because you do not release them under like your real name or anything, so which is freaking hilarious.
I like having is it an alias, Elias, whatever?
Yeah, you can have an alias. Elias is the guy.
I don't like people knowing what I look like, because then they can incorporate that with the recording. Where if you keep it anonymous,
there's true.
There's no bias.
That's not good for marketing, ladies and gentlemen.
No, but I'm not a good-looking dude.
He's not in it for the money either, apparently. No, man, I'll put links down below for Renegade Soul so people can check you guys out and go watch you play. You guys, I will say, yes, put on a great show, regardless of how that band has transformed over the last few years. Killer. Every iteration of it has just been full of just killers. Absolute killers at their instruments. So go check them out if you want to check it out. Jacob, thank you very much for sitting down talking with me. And any last words?
No.
All right.
Been fun, man.
Later, guys.
Goodbye.
There we go. It's episode 249, and it is over. Thanks to Jacob for sitting down talking with me on this podcast episode. It's nice to know he's found a balance that he likes. It's always tough to find that. Like, if anybody's ever experienced burnout in something, whether it's, I don't know, their job or playing music, or sometimes even with just like hobbies, or I don't know, like food, I don't know, whatever it might be, but it's kind of tough to overcome it sometimes, and to find the right balance of what you're looking for to get out of things, and to know what you want to do and why you want to do it. That's also very, very important. So a lot of life lessons came out of this, regardless of whether or not that was Jacob's intentions. So again, it's good to sit down and talk with Jacob, and it's good to get that perspective, from somebody else that maybe feels the same way I do, but maybe also doesn't. But maybe we got to the same destination and took different routes to get there. I'm not sure. But it's good to sit down and talk with him. So check out all his links down below. Go check out Renegade Soul on the next upcoming shows they have. He listed a few of them. Go to the Facebook to find out more. I got the link down below. And thanks to Jacob, and thanks to the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Fort Dodge Fine Arts, check out their podcast. It's super fun to record the episodes. I get to sit down and talk with people I may not get to talk to on this podcast, but even though it's like kind of an adjacent thing. So that's one of my favorite things about it. I'm pretty thankful for it. So if you like this and you want more Audible Farm content, you can get like kind of close. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association has their own podcast, so check it out. It's called FDT. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. They got video versions on their YouTube, so check them out. Their website link is down below if you want to check them out. Otherwise, all the Audible Farm links are down below. And subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or if you want to watch early, it's on Patreon. Audible Farm is on all social medias, and all the good stuff's at audiblefarm.com anyways, so just go there. All right. Thanks, everybody. Peace.